My first ever race in Club 100, let's go. So I won a whole season of Club 100 for free because I came second in the BRKC Team Sport Series last year in the heavyweight division. And ultimately you get the sprint championship for free, but I upgraded for an extra 60 quid per race to do the SP60, so it's a whole hour of racing plus 10-15 minutes of practice and qualifying. So I just thought it was better value for money. Usually you pay $3,000 for the whole year, so considering that I'm only really paying 600 for the whole year is exceptionally good value, I think, especially for the quality and the quality of the racing and the quality of the cars in general. So we jumped straight out into a practice qualifying, 5 minutes practice, 10 minutes qualifying, and as you can see here, it is miserable, grey and wet. Now this is the first ever wet weather session I had done, I think since I was 14 years old, and that was a long time ago. So trying to get up to grips with racing a go-kart at 50-60 mile an hour in the wet in 10 minutes is not an easy job, let's just say that. So this was my final qualifying lap. I've skipped ahead to the end of the session because the first few minutes were just me just scrambling around trying not to spin. And as you can see, the guy in front of me, he is actually the guy who put it on second, and he ends up winning the first race. And you can just see in one lap how much faster he is than me. I think he ends up pulling about 2 seconds. I was about 2 seconds off the pace, and just in every single corner I was just slow everywhere. Now the track has been resurfaced at this point. This race took place at the end of February, I think it was, and it's been resurfaced, I think, in some places. So even just from the last time I'd been here, like at the beginning of February or the end of January, yeah, it already changed. So just trying to get the grip with that. And as we come across the line here, you can see the leader has just pissed off into the distance, essentially. Yeah, very, very poor qualifying performance. I ended up in P25 out of 36 drivers. But for my first time, and considering that I hadn't driven in the wet in a little over 14 years, and I only had 10 minutes to kind of get used to it, I'll take it. You know, I'm a bit harsh on myself. I kind of expected to just jump in and be straight away top 10, which obviously isn't going to be the case, especially these guys are very, very good. Like the quality of driving in this grid is exceptionally good. You're all on the same sort of weight, around 88 kg minimum per driver, so, and I'm just about on that. So jumping into the race, so we come into the formation lap. We're going through the cut throughs here, just trying to warm up the tyres, going through the tram lines. We're starting on the right hand side, P25 on the one side of the grid. Me and the guy next to me, for some reason, just didn't get a good launch off the start, and now we're going to go into the first couple of corners, trying to keep it nice and tidy, nice and clean, on the brakes early, try not to smash anyone into the wall, try not to cause any black flags, don't want to kill anyone, I don't want to kill myself. I'm just trying to go around the outside on hairpin 2, hopefully there's a bit more grip on the outside. At this point, it looks like I've gained a lot or lost a lot, but actually I'm still in the exact same position. Go for a lunge on this guy down the hill. I kind of use him as a turning point, come down here, try to go for a triple overtake, and then immediately binned it. Yeah, that wasn't the best thing I've ever done in my life. Plunged me all the way back down to last, and I am swearing. You can't hear it, but in my helmet I am swearing. I'm just the most blasphemic words you've ever heard in your life. Dead last, and it was almost like there was no point in me even qualifying. And at this point I'm pissed. I'm so angry. We come around to start the second lap. Pretty much caught up to the back of the pack already, which is great for me. And at this point, I just want to start making moves. I don't want to be wasting my time with these guys. I know they're slower than me. I know that I'm extremely angry, so I immediately try to go out for a move. This guy on the left here just lets me by. I try to go for a move on the inside, but it's just so slippery on the inside. And as I find out many times throughout this race, as you can see, the guy gets an outside line and just takes off. But he's just slow coming down here, so I'm already pretty much on the back of him here. Coming down to the bottom of the track here, it's a bit drier, and I don't know why I went for this move again. It was kind of a dodgy move. I did end up kind of pushing him out of the way, which is a bit of a dodgy move. I'll admit that it was a really dodgy move. And I don't know why I went for that move when a lap before that I went for a similar move and ended up spinning. I just felt like I had a bit more confidence. I was like, okay, I know now what I don't do, and now I know what to do next time I'm in that position. So coming around to start lap 3, there's a yellow flag. I think on this lap we ended up making a few positions. So we made a 1 position there. This guy goes spinning there. I got around the outside because I just didn't have the grip or the confidence to go down the inside. And as you can see, the leader of the pack is already down pretty much on the other end of the circuit, as is the Concertina effect where everyone just gets pushed back. Now coming back here, we've already made 4 positions within 2 laps, which is great. I will count the spinning guys as well. And I think on this lap we ended up making 3 or 4 positions, so maybe that was a bit later on. I think that's a bit later on actually. So coming down towards the back end of the circuit, I saw kind of an opportunity, just decided to lunge it, see what happens, and luckily the guy was kind enough to let me go past. So made 3 positions in that 1 lap, so that's really good progress, up to P31. Coming out, and this corner was so treacherous. It doesn't seem it because the camera's pretty stable, but it was so scary going through that left kick before the start-finish straight, because when it's wet, it's just exceptionally scary. You touch the throttle and the thing just it's like the kart wants to throw you. It wants to push you into the shadow realm, as Super GD says it. And I've gone for a lunge down the inside, and I think this was the only one time or once of 2 times where it actually worked. Technically you're supposed to go around the outside on that corner. That's where more grip was, but if you can just park your car on the apex and get in front of them before they can even get the power down, then you're just going to own that corner. So I take 2 positions on that lap. There's a guy there that spins, coming down here into the top end here to Garda. There's a bit of a kerfuffle. These guys, I thought about a move, but I just didn't have the grip. There's another spinner there. I don't know how he managed to spin there. Coming around to this kink, and this guy in yellow just completely misses the corner. It's like he's just gone from this earth. And I made up 4 positions on that lap. So really, really good progress now. Starting on getting on to lap 5. Now, the progress does obviously slow down a little bit here, and I'm just trying to be as clean as possible. And the majority of the moves that I made have been just because people are spinning, and that is part of the game. That is part of the game. There's, if you can be consistent and you can just be strong and not make mistakes like I did on the first lap, because honestly I think if I hadn't made that spin, if I hadn't spun on the first lap, then maybe I would have finished a lot higher than I ended up in this race. But lap 5 already made up 9 positions, so good. And I just go straight into the back of this guy. I did not expect him to brake so early into that corner, and I just got into the back of him. I think I ended up getting a warning for that a bit later on. Now, as we're coming up to the top of the circuit here to start lap 6, I thought I'd go through some of the track changes. So they've re-tarmacked the first half of the first hairpin, or not the first hairpin, but the first couple of corners, and into the first hairpin here you can see there's a black tarmac bit in the middle, and also the same on hairpin 2 there, and those bits are really, really grippy even in the wet. Compared to the old tarmac, it's just so much grippier. And then coming down to the bottom here with the fast right hand kick, they've also re-tarmacked and resurfaced that bit as well, so that bit's really, really grippy. You can really carry a lot of speed. And here as well in the middle of this right-hander. And if you can hook the wheels, which I realised a lot later on into the race, if you can hook the wheels onto those, onto that bit of the circuit, then you're going to have a lot more confidence and a lot more grip. If they had resurfaced the track at the top of the circuit here, they probably would have been a lot faster as well. So as you see, coming to the first corner here, it's just a lot grippier, so you can brake really late and get the kart turned, but then on the exit, you just have no time. As I go for a move on the inside of this guy, and I realised that I just wasn't going to make the corner, make the apex in time, so I hit the brakes, almost snatched the brakes from underneath me. But luckily he went around the outside and no crashes happened. So lap 7 now, as we're coming down to the bottom of the circuit, trying to find my lines. This race was a lot about just trying to adapt to the change of conditions. It was drying, and the difference between lap 1 and the final lap was just insane. I think it was a difference of 6 or 7 seconds at the end. In terms of lap time, it really, coming down the main straight here, you're definitely not going full throttle through the kink. Coming out of the first couple of corners, you're barely even half throttle coming down, and then by the end of it, you're going pretty much full throttle as you would in a dry circuit. But the issue with Buckmore Park is that there's trees at the top end of the circuit. As this guy goes for a move, I decide to go for a move as well. That's the second time that move worked, even though it shouldn't have worked, but made it stick. So I followed him through. And on this lap, actually, I ended up making up 2 positions out of nowhere, because that guy made a move on that guy as I followed the guy in front of me. This guy here makes a terrible exit out of that corner. Go for a lunge. That was a pretty bad lunge. I did end up kind of bumping into him on the exit there, but luckily I think I made it stick. We're coming down to start lap 9, and as I was saying earlier, this race was all about trying to adapt to the conditions. I think I was really strong at the bottom end of the circuit because it was drying a lot faster there, and I was really weak at the top, so I felt like I was losing a lot as I go on a lunge. And this guy again kind of tapped him a little bit because I just couldn't get the car slowed down in time, but ultimately made the move stick. And the circuit does dry up slowly. As you see, this guy, he ends up getting past me anyway, so that overtaking wouldn't matter. As I go past him again, and he ends up getting past me again, mainly because he's got the outside line there. As I was saying earlier, the track is drying, but at the bottom it dries a lot faster than it does at the top, as I'm sure you've seen in the videos of other races around this track, because there's trees at the top, and in the morning the sun rises on the back end of the trees, so the sun is high enough in the sky to dry the bottom part of the circuit, which is where we are now. As you see, there is a dry line forming, but it doesn't dry off the top part of the circuit before it's wet. So you have these kind of interchangeable conditions, which is why we always race in slicks. We don't race on wet with the tyres, even if it's raining, just because the tyres would do really well at the bottom end of the circuit. Sorry, it would get chewed up at the bottom end of the circuit, but then do really well at the top. But it would just cost the series a lot more in tyres if we raced on the wets. This guy in front of me, he was kind of pulling away a little bit, but then in pretty much one corner, it just shows that being consistent is so important in these races, because in one corner he went from being, I think, 1.7 seconds ahead to me immediately passing him in one corner. And then after this, he didn't even contest me. I think I was pulling away by half a second per lap. And yeah, it just kind of really shows that consistency is so key in these races. If you make one little mistake, or essentially one big mistake, and it is really easy to make one big mistake, that you can pretty much lose your positions so easily, even this far into the race where the spaces between each car are bigger. Here, this is the corner where I was catching up so much to everyone in front of me. I was on the brakes pretty much exactly where you'd be on the dry line, but then on the exits I was just not getting the line right, and I was just a little bit too far on the inside, and therefore I was just getting washed out. I can't get the power down coming out the kink fast enough, so that he ends up getting past me anyway, and I've kind of backed off here because I see the leader is right behind me. So I kind of let him pass, and I think, well, maybe if I can just stick onto the back of him, I I can maybe make up a position or two. Now, you're going to see just how much faster the leader is in this race, coming around these corners. And he's obviously doing the proper line going around the outside, hooking the wheels on the tarmac, on the new tarmac. And he's just gone straight past the guy in front of me, like as if he wasn't even there. A move that I wouldn't even think would be possible. And now coming down to the back end of the circuit, going into guard, I think maybe there's a move, but not quite. I'm really sharp on the brakes. I go for a really good line, cut over, and he makes the same mistake, but even worse this time, and I just go straight past him. And I've noticed that the leader in front of me, he's going way around the outside of the kink down the main straight. And he's gaining so much time on me, and that's only then that I realised that I was losing so much time going down that bit. So watching the leader can be so beneficial, because you see that where you're probably doing pretty well, he's just doing a little bit better. And I realised that I was getting my confidence back really quickly in those drying conditions, a lot faster than most of the other drivers around me, but there was still a lot more to be done. So I was just... I wasn't braking as much going down to this section here. I was getting on to the dry line a lot better. As you can see now, I've kind of made back that gap to the leader pretty much within a second now. So hopefully I can just try to stick to the back of this guy as much as I can. Coming through this corner here, not lifting as much, just tiny little lift, going a bit wider, taking the dry line. And as you can see, I'm not losing as much time. I'm trying to go around the outside a bit more, but again I did end up losing quite a bit of time to the leader. He was just so incredibly fast. Ultimately, towards the end, I think towards the end of the race, I was lapping within 6 to 7 tenths of the leader, which is I think pretty good, considering that I ended up down in P21. Now there's a bit of traffic here, so I'm hoping that I can kind of get a position here, but the only ones that I'm actually fighting for position with are the two guys in blue ahead of me. As the guy in front of them, he's a lap down, and then the guy in black, about 5 karts down, he's also a lap down. I dipped 2 tyres on the wet patch on the outside there, and then I ended up losing a lot of positions. This guy here just moves out of the way. I'm kind of desperate to get past him, because I think if I end up sitting behind him, I'm going to lose a lot more time. But then, that was a dramatic cut. So again, I try to go for the inside move on this guy in blue, but again, just don't have the grip on the inside. I don't know why I kept going for that move when it obviously doesn't work. There's no grip on the inside, but I just wasn't learning that, and that corner I think was where I was losing most of my time. But then coming down towards the bottom end of the circuit, I felt like I was not only keeping up, but also catching everyone, especially in the braking zone. You see how much I was catching up to this guy here. Just on the exit, just wasn't as confident to go full throttle as much as the other guys here. Going down the main straight here, going a lot more full throttle. You can kind of tell now that compared to the beginning of the race, the circuit is drying up as he goes for a really dodgy move around the inside of the guy ahead. And you can just see how much faster the circuit is. I'm getting on the power a lot earlier, I'm getting on the brakes a lot later. And it's just so much more fun to watch. And luckily the camera's pretty stable. But unfortunately you just can't get the sense of speed. And I think this is the last proper overtake that I actually made in this race. So coming down to the bottom, the guy in front of me gets a massive tank slapper. He goes around wide and ended up taking a position. And I felt like I was pretty much matching the guy in front of me on pace right towards the end, even though I was catching him so quickly earlier on. But he was also learning as well. And then I think here at this point, there's only about 2 minutes left on the clock, as you see me go over the line. And ultimately didn't catch up to him, but finished in P21. I didn't record the second race for some reason, but I actually managed to get up from P21 to P10. That would have been a fun race to watch, but ultimately I just need to learn to record the second race. But yeah, thanks for watching. Subscribe. I am gonna be racing in the rest of Club 100 for the rest of the year. Next race is Gleneagor in Wales, so please stick around for that one, and leave a comment down below if you liked it, if there's anything that you saw that I could have improved on. Honestly, I'm just trying to learn. I'm trying to improve my racing, trying to improve my karting as much as possible. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you at the next one.